Hi, my name is Jonathan Chen. I'm an Executive Vice President of International Operations and Investor Relations for MicroPort. I'm based in San Francisco, US, but travel globally as my responsibility is for the entire international operations for MicroPort. Yeah, so MicroPort is a publicly traded medical device company. We're a company is about 18 years old. We're publicly traded on the Hong Kong Stock Exchange. And the franchise that MicroPort is probably most known for is our interventional cardiology franchise. Our founder and current CEO and chairman, Dr. Chang, was the first, he and his team were the first to get a drug-eluting stent approved for the China drug-eluting stent market. And we launched our first stent in 2004, and to this day we are the #1 market share leader for the China DES market. And the China DES market today is the #2 largest market in the world, but it is the fastest growing. So each year it's about 12 to 14% year-over-year growth. This past year, 2016, they just crossed over, I believe, 600,000 PCI procedures per year. So in about 3 to 5 years' time, the market believes that China will be the #1 largest market, surpassing the US market in terms of annual PCI case volume. And so from MicroPort's perspective, that's fantastic for us. China is our home market. We've enjoyed being the market leader there in terms of our technologies. We've developed our 3rd generation drug-eluting stent there. And this year, 2016, we've also begun to globalize our interventional cardiology franchise. So we executed a fairly large clinical trial in Europe for Firehawk, and we also have plans to bring Firehawk to the US market in 2017. And obviously we are here today talking about launching Firehawk in the Indian market, which we're very excited about. And so the India market, MicroPort has always identified as a core strategic market for the long-term growth of MicroPort. We just discussed about who's the largest market in terms of annual PCI case volume. US is that today. China is #2. At 300,000, at over 300,000 PCI procedures per year, India is within the top 3 to 4 markets and growing rapidly. So that's the current state today. We think that within 5 years' time, 10 years' time, there's a very good chance that the #1 and #2 largest markets by volume may be China and India. And so we always think about long-term prospects for MicroPort, and we think that having our home market be China and then having a thriving business in India would be great for the long-term potential for MicroPort. Yeah, our flagship product, as I mentioned, is Firehawk. And Firehawk is our 3rd generation drug-eluting stent. Very proud of this technology. We believe that this stent has the potential to be the best-in-class drug-eluting stent in the world, comparable to all of the top stents from all of the Western market manufacturers. And we have done extensive clinical studies in China to prove that Firehawk is clinically equivalent to Science V, which is Abbott's stent. And we have longer-term 4-year, 5-year follow-up data, patient data that shows Firehawk is potentially performs very well in categories like late stent thrombosis categories. So we believe that this is a great product to bring to the Indian market because it represents a very high-end technology at a very affordable price point. And we think that that bodes well for our Indian market, even in spite of the recent government initiatives to introduce price controls for the local stent market. Yeah, so MicroPort has a very broad and expansive medical device portfolio. So we talked a lot about interventional cardiology, where we have our best-in-class metal drug-eluting stent, which is Firehawk. But we also have in development a bioresorbable stent called FireZorb, and a aortic valve replacement technology, TAVI, that we call VitaFlow. And so within interventional cardiology, we think we have a very strong franchise. But even outside of that, we have other very exciting businesses and products and technologies. So endovascular, we sell AAA stent grafts and thoracic and grafts to treat thoracic aneurysms. We also have a neurovascular business, so we manufacture and produce neurostents, flow diverters, stent graft devices, coil devices. We also have an electrophysiology franchise, so we call it EP. This is a homegrown developed 3D mapping system technology, along with ablation catheters, diagnostic catheters to treat patients with atrial fibrillation. And then lastly, we also have an orthopedics business, which consists of hip and knee implants, and also spine and trauma devices. We're not just a cardiovascular focused business, but we also have a significant presence in orthopedics as well. And so you can see that MicroPort has a broad platform. And again, the vision for MicroPort is not just to be a China device company, not just to be a stent company. The vision for MicroPort is to be a leading global device company. And you can see with the platforms that we have, that we believe we have a great opportunity to achieve that. Yeah, we are absolutely focused on bringing the entire MicroPort portfolio to the India market. Obviously, we're here today, this week at India Live, which is an interventional cardiology conference launching Firehawk, but we do have visions and do have plans to bring all of the other platforms that I just described to the India market. We believe that we've developed a lot of our technologies, as I mentioned, high-end technologies, but at a very affordable price. Those are the standards that are required for our home market in China, but I think it's also very appropriate for the India market as an emerging market economy. Particularly the product specs that we've developed, I think will be very conducive for the India market. Yeah, R&D, we spend a lot of R&D on it every year. It starts from the founding principles of MicroPort. So, Dr. Chong is engineer by background. He likes his technology, and to the tune that we spend about 18% of our revenue on an annual basis within our cardiovascular business in R&D. That is very high compared to the industry average of about 8%. Our company motto at MicroPort is the patient comes first. And so, to develop very innovative technologies, very high-end technologies always requires a significant effort in R&D in terms of investment and in time. And you can see some of the output of our technologies that MicroPort has produced year over year, that our R&D efforts are very fruitful in terms of the types of technologies, differentiating technologies that we produce. MicroPort is in this business not to just create me too technologies. We often say that we want to be me better, and a lot of the technologies in particular, like Firehawk, fall into that category. Our expansion plans, as a person responsible for the international business for MicroPort, our expansion plans are global. And so we do see opportunities where we want to bring a lot of our technologies that were produced and developed in China, outside of China, into the global marketplace in Europe, and in the US, in India. And so in 2016, you can see a lot of the efforts and investments that we've focused on is to make sure that the company is well positioned to expand in the global markets. And we will continue to seek out opportunities to do that for MicroPort.